Um, I want to see me get my joy back from playing basketball, and wherever that may be, we'll find out here pretty soon. But I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, you know, off the court, but I want to be back to somewhat dominant. I want to hoop, and I want to help this team win. Right now, I'm not doing that.
Can you get your joy back here on the court?
Probably not.
Mad. But this relationship has been over. It's been over for, I think, some of the stuff they said after last season. So this is one of the worst kept secrets. Now they just got to get a deal. This relationship is over. It can't, because he's not going to get an extension. Plain and simple.
Can you sort of fill us in on when you saw that and your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on it is I like it. Because no matter what I do, somebody's always saying something. So, like I've been doing, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and play basketball.
Jimmy Butler has officially requested a trade from the Miami Heat. After months of swirling rumors and hints of dissatisfaction, Butler has made it clear he no longer wants to stay in Miami. During a recent game against the Indiana Pacers, Butler appeared completely disengaged, sitting on the bench while his teammates celebrated plays. When asked about his mindset afterward, he admitted, "I've lost my joy for the game. I don't want to be here." While he didn't explicitly demand a trade to avoid fines, his message was unmistakable. Adding to the turmoil, the Miami Heat have officially suspended Butler for 7 games, citing multiple instances of conduct detrimental to the team. This suspension further underscores the deteriorating relationship between Butler and the organization, painting a picture of a fractured dynamic that now seems beyond repair. Shortly after, Shams Charania confirmed that Butler has formally asked the Heat's front office to trade him, stating he's even willing to play literally anywhere else. Adding to the turmoil, the Miami Heat have officially suspended Butler for 7 games, citing multiple instances of conduct detrimental to the team. This suspension further underscores the deteriorating relationship between Butler and the organization, painting a picture of a fractured dynamic that now seems beyond repair. Jimmy Butler's tenure with the Miami Heat has been a roller coaster of highs and lows. On one hand, he led the team to 2 NBA Finals appearances and delivered some of the most iconic playoff performances in franchise history. On the other hand, tension between Butler and the front office has been brewing for years, with both sides contributing to the growing divide. Despite his successes on the court, Butler's relationship with the organization has deteriorated over time, creating a situation that now feels irreparable. The cracks began to show after Miami's Finals appearance in 2020. While Butler carried the team through improbable playoff runs, the Heat struggled to surround him with the talent needed to secure a championship. The lack of major roster upgrades and the reliance on undrafted players frustrated Butler, who often found himself shouldering an unfair burden. This frustration only grew over the years as the Heat failed to capitalize on opportunities to land marquee players, leaving Butler as the lone superstar in a system that demanded more from him than was sustainable. The relationship took a major hit this past offseason when Butler reportedly felt disrespected by the team's reluctance to offer him a long-term contract extension. At 34 years old, Butler was seeking the security and respect he believed he had earned, but the Heat's hesitance to commit to a $50 million per year deal fueled his dissatisfaction. Public comments from Pat Riley, including a jab about Butler needing to shut his mouth, added insult to injury. These tensions, combined with the team's struggles this season, have culminated in Butler's decision to request a trade. From Butler's perspective, the trade request is both logical and inevitable. Despite his playoff heroics, he feels unappreciated for what he's brought to the franchise. Butler has repeatedly proven his worth as one of the league's premier competitors, carrying the Heat through improbable runs and delivering unforgettable moments. Yet, his efforts have been met with a front office that appears unwilling to fully commit to building a championship-caliber team around him. The Heat's failure to adequately support Butler has been a recurring theme throughout his tenure. While other teams aggressively pursued star players to bolster their rosters, Miami opted for cautious incremental moves. This conservative approach left Butler carrying the weight of an incomplete roster, forcing him to perform at an unsustainable level. For a player like Butler, who thrives on intensity and competition, the lack of ambition from the organization was a deal breaker. On the other hand, the Heat's reluctance to offer Butler a massive extension reflects legitimate concerns about his age and injury history. Committing to a 34-year-old with significant significant wear and tear on his body is a substantial gamble, especially given the financial implications of such a deal. From a business standpoint, Miami's decision to prioritize long-term stability over short-term gains is understandable. However, this pragmatic approach ultimately alienated the player who had done the most to keep the franchise relevant. While Jimmy Butler deserves credit for elevating the Miami Heat, the organization's repeated missteps during his tenure have hindered their chances of winning a championship. The front office's inability to land a second superstar to pair with Butler stands out as the most glaring failure. Despite being linked to high-profile players like Damian Lillard, the Heat consistently fell short in trade negotiations, leaving Butler to shoulder an outsized burden. Beyond the failure to acquire stars, the Heat's over-reliance on undrafted players and aging veterans exposed the team in critical moments. While Miami's culture of developing overlooked talent is commendable, it's not a substitute for acquiring top-tier talent. In key playoff series, the lack of depth and firepower became evident, especially when Butler's heroic efforts weren't enough to overcome more well-rounded opponents. The team's cautious approach to roster building ultimately left them outmatched on the biggest stages. The Heat's reluctance to take bold risks further compounded their issues. While teams like the Suns and Bucks aggressively pursued big-name stars, Miami seemed content with marginal upgrades. Moves like acquiring Kyle Lowry and PJ Tucker were solid but insufficient. This lack of ambition left Butler in a frustrating position, capable of leading the team deep into the playoffs but without the support needed to finish the job. For a competitor like Butler, this mediocrity was unacceptable. While much of the blame lies with the Heat's front office, Jimmy Butler is not without fault. His actions and decisions have also contributed to the team's struggles. One of the most significant criticisms of Butler is his inconsistent effort during the regular season. While his playoff Jimmy persona is legendary, his tendency to pace himself often left the team fighting for better playoff positioning instead of securing a more favorable seed. This approach placed added pressure on his teammates and created unnecessary challenges. Butler's leadership style has also been a double-edged sword. While his intensity and high standards have inspired his teammates, they have also caused friction within the locker room. Publicized incidents, such as heated exchanges with Eric Spoelstra and Udonis Haslem, illustrate the challenges of playing alongside such a demanding personality. Younger players and role players may have struggled to thrive under Butler's no-nonsense approach, creating tension within the team. Most recently, Butler's disengagement in games leading up to his trade request has sent a negative message to his teammates. Sitting passively on the bench while others celebrated plays and admitting he'd lost his joy for the game created unnecessary distractions. This behavior overshadowed the efforts of players like Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo, who were stepping up to keep the team competitive. Butler's actions, while understandable given his frustrations, have contributed to the toxic environment in Miami. As Butler prepares to move on, several teams have emerged as potential suitors. The Phoenix Suns are an intriguing option, but financial constraints and the complexity of Bradley Beal's contract make this a challenging scenario. The Golden State Warriors, with their desperation to remain contenders, could offer a compelling package for Butler. Pairing him with the Warriors' existing core might be the best fit among the rumored destinations. The Dallas Mavericks also present an interesting opportunity. Pairing Butler with Luka Doncic would create a dynamic duo, but the Mavericks would likely need to overhaul their roster to make the trade work. Meanwhile, the Memphis Grizzlies have emerged as a sleeper destination. With the assets and depth to execute a trade, Memphis could offer Butler a fresh start while maintaining their competitiveness. Wherever Butler lands, his presence is likely to elevate his new team into immediate contention. Jimmy Butler's trade request marks a significant turning point, not only for the Miami Heat, but also for the NBA landscape. Wherever Butler goes, his impact will likely shift the balance of power in the league. For the Heat, his departure signals the end of an era defined by resilience, overachievement, and missed opportunities. As they pivot toward a rebuild or retooling phase, questions remain about how they will move forward without their star player. The legacy of Butler's time in Miami is a complex one. While he gave the franchise unforgettable moments and carried them to incredible heights, the lack of a championship leaves a bittersweet taste. Both Butler and the Heat share responsibility for the shortcomings of this era. As Butler prepares for the next chapter of his career, fans are left to wonder what might have been if either side had done just a little more to secure a title. Jimmy Butler's trade request brings an end to one of the most compelling chapters in Miami Heat history. While his frustrations with the front office are understandable, his own actions and leadership style have also contributed to the team's struggles. For the Heat, the inability to provide Butler with a true co-star will forever haunt this era. Adding to the drama, Butler's 7-game suspension for multiple instances of conduct detrimental to the team cements this chapter as one of turmoil and missed opportunities. As the basketball world waits to see where Butler lands, one thing is certain: his departure will leave a legacy of brilliance, intensity, and unrealized potential. The question now is whether Butler's next destination can provide him with the support he needs to finally achieve the ultimate goal, an NBA championship. If you enjoy these NBA topics on the channel, make sure to subscribe and let us know your thought on the Jimmy Butler situation.